بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الصلاة والسلام على سيد الأنبياء والمرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي اللهم لا سهل إلا ما جعلته سهلا وأنت تجعل الحزن سهلا إذا شئت آمين. Okay, so today we have a couple of things to go over. So we'll go over, as we usually do, we'll go over the review of what we covered last session, which was pretty much the entire Surah Layl, right? Yeah, we went over the entire tarjuma as well as some of the different opinions or the major opinions regarding each of the ayat. And then the second thing is, inshallah, we could talk about the connections between this surah and the previous surah. And lastly, we'll talk about the whole transgender thing, which I'm just basing off of ayah number 3. Now, I messed up because I thought that I completely forgot about the second thing, which is the whole connections between the two surahs. And I have like a whole page of notes on this one. And so I thought I was basically gonna have the whole period for it, talking about the transgender thing. So I'm gonna have to go a little bit fast today, inshallah. Or that usually doesn't happen. Yeah, what's up? Surat al-Layl. Could you mind muting yourself just and then I appreciate you. Okay, so we finished Surah Layl last time. Okay, so let's just go through that quickly, inshallah. That's the first thing. Going over the tarjuma of Surah Layl. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Allah Ta'ala says, وَاللَّيْلِ إِذَا يَغْشَى, and Allah Ta'ala takes an oath by the night when it yaghsha, it covers, it overcomes, it just completely overtakes everything. So that's, of course, that's the night. We all experience it, that the darkness overtakes the entire, the earth. وَالنَّهَارِ إِذَا تَجَلَّى, and by the daytime when it itself brilliantly shines. Tajalla is that the daytime itself is shining brilliantly. وَمَا خَلَقَ الذَّكَرَ وَالْأُنثَى, and Allah Ta'ala, He takes an oath by, now there's two different translations we could have based on what tafsir we're taking for this ma. So this ma could be بمعنى man. وَمَنْ خَلَقَ الذَّكَرَ وَالْأُنثَى, Allah Ta'ala is taking an oath by Himself, His creation of creating the men and women as two separate genders. Again, this is, like I said, this is where our whole transgender discussion is going to come up from. Gender identity and all those sorts of different things, inshallah. And then, or the second translation, based on the second tafsir, is that this is a ma masdariya, where we could basically, let's just call it, focusing on the amazing nature of the creation itself. And so then the translation would then be, and by the amazing nature of creation of men and women. Okay, something roughly. Okay, inna sa'yakum lashatta. Sa'ya, sa'yun bima'na amal. Inna amalakum lashatta, which is the shatta is the jama', the mufrad, the singular is shatit. This means mukhtalif. They're all over the place. There's so many different they're different. Okay, they're distinct. So inna sa'yakum lashatta, your pursuits, O humankind, are truly divergent. They're all distinct from one another. Now, what does this mean? Yani, talking about there's people who do amal for the hereafter. They practice on that which is good, and there's people who, on the other side of the aisle, they don't. They practice upon the shar and the evil. So now Allah Ta'ala is going to do tafsir, basic of ayah number 4 in the next 6 ayat, pretty much. Okay, so for the first group of those people who act upon the good and who are في سبيل الخير, Allah Ta'ala says, فَأَمَّا مَنْ أَعْطَى وَاتَّقَى وَصَدَّقَ بِالْحُسْنَى فَسَنُيَسِّرُهُ لِلْيُسْرَى. As for those individuals who give and they fear Allah Ta'ala, they give and they fear Allah Ta'ala, وَصَدَّقَ بِالْحُسْنَى, and they do tasdeeq, they affirm or they confirm bil husna. Husna, as we said, there's a multitude of different opinions over here as well. The first one being, we could say bil al husna being Jannah. Allah Ta'ala says, لِلَّذِينَ أَحْسَنُوا الْحُسْنَى وَزِيَادَةً. So for those individuals who do good, Allah Ta'ala gives them husna, and the mufassirun, they all mention that. I'm not sure if they all mention, but the majority opinion, I believe, is that the husna over here means, for those people who do good, they have al-jannah. Husna bi ma'na jannah. So this, we apply that same tafsir over here. Another opinion is that وصدق بالحسنى أي وصدق بكلمة الحسنى أي الكلمة الطيبة, the shahada, basically, that they believe in La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wasallam. Okay, the third opinion was, let me just double check. صدق بالحسنى أي الخصلة الحسنة وهي الإسلام. Okay, Islam, لا إله إلا الله أو بالمثوبة الحسنى وهي الجنة. Okay, I pretty much said that. وقيل يعني الأجر والثواب على الإطلاق، الخلف على المنفق. Okay, yeah. So those are the. Let's just stick with those two. Jannah, or it's fara', which is just doing good deeds and stuff like that, or it's the actual belief in the kalima of la ilaha illallah. وصدق بالحسنى فسنيسره لليسرى. Then we shall make him easy for لليسرى, his for that which is. We shall then ease him in this life into ease in the hereafter. We shall ease him in this life into ease in the hereafter. Okay, لليسرى. وأما من بخل واستغنى. So this is in opposition to the this individual who's being described here is in opposition to the previous individual. أما من بخل واستغنى, the one who doesn't give, he's very stingy. واستغنى, he deems himself as independent. استغنى, غنى is independence. استغنى is to claim or to seek this independence and to think that someone is free from Allah Ta'ala. واستغنى وكذب بالحسنى, and he rejects the faith. He rejects faith in the ultimate reward of Allah Ta'ala. فَسَنُيَسِّرُهُ لِلْعُسْرَى. Ayah number 10. We shall then ease him into hardship, يعني Jahannam, the hardest of hardships. وَمَا يُغْنِي عَنْهُ مَالُهُ إِذَا تَرَدَّى. And his wealth shall not avail him إِذَا تَرَدَّى, when he تَرَدَّى. Now there's a couple of different opinions for تَرَدَّى. تَرَدَّى بمعنى, they're all very, very similar. Make sure the recording didn't stop. Okay, great. تَرَدَّى بمعنى, they all seem very, very similar. واختلف في معنى تردى على أربعة أقوال. There's four opinions. Okay, الأول تردى أي هلك, فهو مشتق من الردي وهو الموت. When this individual dies, his wealth shall not avail him in any way, shape, or form. The second opinion is تردى أي سقط في القبر. When he's actually placed in his grave, his wealth shall not avail him. أو سقط في جهنم. When he's falling in the pit, so that he's falling into the hellfire, his wealth shall not avail him. أو تردى بأكفانه من الرداء. الرداء is that cloth that's used to, like the burial shroud, the actual, that white cloth that we bury the dead in. So when he is placed in this burial shroud, his wealth is not going to help him over there. So again, all very, very similar. Okay. وما يغني عنه ماله إذا تردى. هذا نفي أو استفهام بمعنى الإنكار. It's either نفي is just doing nafi of the idea, his wealth shall not avail him when he's dead. Okay. Or it's أو استفهام بمعنى الإنكار. Shall his wealth really avail him when he's dying? Is his wealth really going to do? I mean, and is his wealth really going to do him any good when he's dead in front of us? Okay. So those are the two different meanings. إن علينا للهدى أي بيان الخير والشر. The responsibility of the shari', I guess you could say, of the one who's legislating, Allah Ta'ala, and of the messengers, majazan, is that it is our responsibility to explain to you that which is good and that which is evil. It is our responsibility to tell you what's going to get you into Jannah, what's going to get you into Jahannam. Okay. فأنذرتكم نارا تلظى. فأنذرت. Okay, that's صيغة متكلم, right? I have warned you all of the naran talazza, of the blazing, of the boiling fire with its high flames. فأنذرت. Who is this tu referring to? This is referring to Allah Ta'ala. Allah Ta'ala himself has warned you all of the fire. Okay, that's obvious. Another opinion was that من النبي عليه الصلاة والسلام صلى الله عليه وسلم على تقديري قل, that this is referring to Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam should say, I have warned you, O Quraysh, of the blazing fire. فأنذرتكم نارا تلظى لا يصلاها, right? لا يصلاها إلا الأشقى. Ayah number 15. None shall roast therein, none shall enter therein, إلا الأشقى, except for the most wretched. The ishkal here was that this is now a proof. Okay, so if you translate the ayah, which is based off of zahir on the apparent, is that none shall enter it except for the most wretched, is a proof that, well, the Muslims, of course, those who believe in Allah Ta'ala are never the most wretched, right? The most wretched are those people who, like the first, like shart, the first condition to be considered the most wretched is that what? You have to not believe in Allah, right? No one's going to be like, yeah, out of all people on earth, All the kuffar were terrible, except but somehow, in some way, shape, or form, there was this one Muslim guy who was just worse than all of them. Automatically, because this person has iman, that okay, that's obviously impossible, right? But because automatically this individual has iman, he's he's crossed, he's passed that line of being from this category. So the objection is that um, استدل المرجئة بهذه الآية على أن النار لا يدخلها إلا الكفار. The Murji'ah, a deviant heretical group, claim that this ayah is a proof that the only people that will enter into Jahannam are the disbelievers. As well as the next ayah, لا يصلها إلى الأشقى الذي كذب وتولى, describing al-ashqa, the one who disbelieved and he turned away from the Quran, he turned away from Iman, he turned away from Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. That's definitely not the Muslim, right? By definition, it's the Muslim who did tasdeeq, he didn't do kadhaba, he didn't do tawalla, he believed, he accepted it, even though even if he was a bad Muslim or whatever, he definitely doesn't fall into this. So now Allah Ta'ala is saying, okay, you guys get the ishkal. I'm dragging it for no reason. Um, so now there's three different responses. أحدها أن المعنى لا يصلها صلى خلود إلا الأشقى. That um, the only people who shall enter it forever, the only people that shall enter it forever are the ashqa. As we know, the asi Muslim, a disbelieving, or sorry, not a disbelieving, a Muslim who committed major sins, he just didn't make tawbah, and Allah Ta'ala can decide to enter that person into the hellfire, correct? But eventually, as we know from multiple narrations of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, is that at some point in time, whether it's that person just in Jahannam for a moment or for like who knows how long, that person will eventually be brought out of the hellfire and will be made to enter into Jannah. There's actually there's a narration regarding the last person that's going to enter into Jannah. He's going to be brought out from the Jahannam. He's going to enter into Jannah, and it's a beautiful narration which I just think about right now. Probably should have pulled it up and I could have shared it with you guys. Maybe I could send it after, inshallah. Okay, so that's one. That la yaslaha salla khuludan illa al-ashqa. That the only individuals that will enter it forever are the kuffar, the ashqa. So that's one answer to the objection. Another one is وَالْآخَرَ أَرَادَ نَارًا مَخْصُوصَةً. The what's being لا يصلها, ha referring to none shall enter it. What does it mean? It's referring to the naran talava, right? So naran talava is a specific fire in which these ashqa will enter into. Therefore, the ishkal, the objection doesn't apply. The third is that أنه أراد بالأشقى كافرا معينا. What's actually intended by ashqa here, لا يصلها إلى الأشقى, although the name isn't taken, it's referring to specific individuals. So again, if it's referring to specific individuals, you can't apply the specific to the entire general body, right? So it's saying that it's what's intended here is a specific individual. Who Abu Jahl or Umayyah ibn Khalaf, these kuffar. وقابل به الأتقى وهو أبو بكر الصديق. So later on we're going to talk about Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, but inshallah we'll get that there. Or is this just a typo? لا يصلها إلى الأشقى الذي كذب وتولى. Okay, now ayah number 17. وسيجنبها الأتقى. The tajneeb is to make someone be far away from something, like not even a possibility of, there's like a car crash coming and you just pull someone barely out the way. That's not the jannah, okay, or tajneeb. The like tajneeb would be that it's not like you just barely get them like a few inches from hitting the car. You take them and you move them to the opposite side of the road. You send them way down that way. That would be something that's tajneeb. You put them far away from harm's way. وَسَيُجَنَّبُهَا الْأَتْقَى. Allah Ta'ala says that He shall make the atqa be far away from سَيُجَنَّبُهَا, referring to the naran talabba. Allah Ta'ala will make the atqa be far away from the hellfire. الَّذِي يُؤْتِي مَعْلَهُ يَتَزَكَّى. الَّذِي يُؤْتِي مَعْلَهُ يَتَزَكَّى. The one who, ayah number 18, the one who gives his wealth to purify himself. الَّذِي يُؤْتِي مَالَهُ يَتَزَكَّى, so that he may purify himself from, in the sight of Allah Ta'ala, from sins, from all these sorts of different things. Now, this is where we had mentioned that this is referring to Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radiallahu ta'ala anhu. I believe it was Ibn al-Jawzi who said that, وَأَجْمَعَ عَلَيْهِ الْمُفَسِّرُونَ. That pretty much is ijma', consensus, and agreement among all the tafsir scholars that this verse is referring to Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radiallahu ta'ala anhu, that he is the one who's being referred to here, al-Atqa. And then the Sabbun Nuzul goes that it was when Umayyah ibn Khalaf was torturing Bilal radiallahu ta'ala anhu, and he was, because he accepted Islam, he would take him to the a part of the desert in which like the sun was directly hitting the sand. So then the sand was very, very hot. He throw him on there. Then he put boulders on his chest, as you guys are probably all familiar with the story. And Bilal radiallahu ta'ala anhu, he would not give up his Islam. So what happened? Abu Bakr Siddiq saw this and he bought him from him and then he freed him immediately. So then what? الذي يؤتي ماله يتزكى. Now, why did he do this? Of course, he did this only for the sake of Allah Ta'ala, right? So يؤتي ماله يتزكى وما لأحد عنده من نعمة تجزى. Ayah number 19. And confers no favor upon anyone for any to get paid back. It's not like he's doing this just so he can get paid back himself. إلا ابتغاء وجه ربه الأعلى. Only reason he's doing this is seeking the quote unquote face of his Lord. Yani he's he's only doing it for the pleasure of Allah Ta'ala, Al-A'la, the Most High. Um, yeah, okay, so the I number 19 is in response to. So after he paid like an ridiculous amount of money to buy Bilal radiallahu ta'ala anhu from Umayyad ibn Khalaf, what they started to say was that only reason he did that is because he actually owes Bilal a favor or something probably. Bilal probably had him when he was probably had his back when he was in a tough spot, so he's just paying back the favor that he owes him. So then he says, وَمَا لِأَحَدٍ عِنْدَهُ مِنْ نِعْمَةٍ تُجْزَى. It wasn't for definitely wasn't for that reason. إِلَّا ابْتِغَاءَ وَجْهِ رَبِّ الْأَعْلَى. It was solely for the sake of Allah Ta'ala. وَلَا سَوْفَ يَرْضَى. And for this he shall most surely be well pleased in the hereafter. Okay? And then from this we also learn that why do we say that after all the prophets and that Abu Bakr as-Siddiq is the greatest human being to walk this earth is because Al-Atqa, he's being called Al-Atqa here. And in another verse, Allah Ta'ala, Surah Hujarat, Allah Ta'ala says, Inna akramakum indallahi atqakum. That the most noble, the most honorable, the best of those amongst you are the people who have the most taqwa. So if he's the one who has the most taqwa, and in that verse says that the best are those who have the most taqwa, then it just makes sense, right? That he is the best of people after the prophets. Yes, good. Yeah, I don't. Yeah, yeah. So I think mm, I'll definitely ask someone like a mufti or someone about this. But I maybe living in America, I don't think not paying, being able to avoid paying taxes might be another ajr. You know what I'm saying? I'm just playing. I'm just playing. Um, um, hmm. But I mean, at the very least, if okay, let's just say if a person is not getting the full reward, you could have gave your charity somewhere else instead of giving it to like a masjid or something, right? So that itself would also be something that's, or like let's say a person doesn't even care then and he has the niyyah of trying to make it solely for the sake of Allah Ta'ala, then that could possibly also not affect the reward also. Inshallah, I'll double check with that though. That's a good question. Arslan, you had a question? Or you raising your hand or something? Okay, my fault, my fault. ولا سوف يرضى. Okay, that's the whole tarjuma of the surah. Second thing was the parallel between this surah and the previous surah. Unless, Arsalan, you want to give a little khulasa of the tajalli discussion. I feel like you do a better job with that Urdu than I would. For sure, for sure, for sure. I need to find more info on that. I forgot to ask one of my one of the Molanas. So inshallah, I'll ask him today and figure it out somewhere. Or tomorrow, I'll ask him. Sorry, that was Mahmoud al-Ihsan by Abdul Rahim Khan. I don't know how to say the last name. Lana Abdul something. Let me look it up real quick. Mahmoud. Uh, Arsalan had asked a question regarding what are the Jalliyat. He says that that term is used in Urdu. And then he was asking if there's like a pair if that the Urdu meaning has any significance to what this ayah of ayah number two, وَالنَّهَارِ إِذَا تَجَلَّى. And then I just kind of told him that tajalliyat in like the Sufi terminology is kind of like spiritual states and like spiritual halat that might overtake a person. And then I had sent him a screenshot from this book. So this is by Hazrat Aqdas Mufti Ahmad Sahab Khanjpuri, Damat Barakatuhum. I think he passed away actually. Yeah. I'm not sure exactly who this is, but the book seems legit. Like really. Where'd you see that? Of the picture that I sent? Really? Oh. Yeah, that's just the chapter that this is coming in. So I guess he's probably defining the tajalli wa istitar. There's yeah, this is like a and then he if you look at the top right, he's defining like failed and stuff like that. Yeah. So in this section it was just a lot of like was basically just this, where he'd give the term and then explanation for it. Like, I'll try to find something maybe if I could. I doubt I could find something in English, but let's see. Let's see. Inshallah, I'll do. To who? Oh, okay. Okay. Let me just go through this pretty quickly then. The overlap between the two surahs, the connections and stuff like that. Okay, so the parallels. In Surah Shams, Allah Ta'ala says, وَالنَّهَارِ إِذَا جَلَّاهَا, and then He says, وَاللَّيْلِ إِذَا يَغْشَاهَا. Over here, we see in Surah al-Layl, it's reverse. وَاللَّيْلِ إِذَا يَغْشَى وَالنَّهَارِ إِذَا تَجَلَّى. Okay, so, and we also notice similarly, verses 1 and 2 in Surah Layl, and this is verses 3 and 4 in Surah Shams. We also notice that over here, Allah Ta'ala says, وَاللَّيْلِ إِذَا يَغْشَى. Ayah number 1 of Surah Layl, whereas ayah number 4 of Surah Shams was وَاللَّيْلِ إِذَا يَغْشَاهَا. There was a damir mentioned. There was the damir was mentioned in the previous surah. So what the surah is expecting us to do the surah is expecting us to have read the previous surah to understand what the maf'ul bihi is. There's no maf'ul bihi mentioned in ayah number 1 of Surah Layl, so it's expecting you to have read the previous surah to know what the maf'ul bihi is. Okay, that's the surah expects for us to look at Surah Shams. Okay, Jallaha in the previous surah. Actually, remember, I don't know if you guys remember, but I said that this is a common spot that I spot test the students on because whenever you say "Walayli idha yaghshaha," they think that it's the first ayah of Surah Layl, and then they just start reading and they get mad confused, and I tell them they're wrong and they have no idea how to figure it out. So I actually tried that with the Hifz kids today, and the one kid like he just started acting like, "Man, why you give me something so easy?" And he said it wrong, and then I just made the other kids laugh at him. Not really, but no, they did laugh, but that wasn't like a bullying thing. So I'm just trying to free myself from any criticism of I'm an evil teacher. Okay, I don't know where that came from. وَاللَّيْلِ إِذَا يَغْشَى. What was I saying? So yeah, there's no maful bihi mentioned here because the surah expects you to look at the previous surah. Over here, it's وَالنَّهَارِ إِذَا تَجَلَّى. It itself is bright and brilliant. Whereas in the previous surah, Allah Ta'ala says, وَالنَّهَارِ إِذَا جَلَّاهَا. By the, this is ayah number 3 of Surah Shams, by the daytime the when it's illuminated by the sun. Okay, so we see in the Surah Layl that the daytime is brilliant, and then we learn in the previous surah what exactly made it bright, what exactly made it brilliant. Okay, that's another one. Um, Moving away from sky and earth, Allah Ta'ala He talks about وَمَا خَلَقَ الذَّكَرَ وَالْأُنثَى. Okay, which we'll talk about in more detail. So we see that what's the connection between sky, like the skies and the cosmos, and man and women. Allah Ta'ala says, وَالسَّمَاءِ وَمَا بَنَاهَا وَالْأَرْضِ وَمَا طَحَاهَا. By the in ayah number 5 and 6 of Surah Shams. 5 and 6. And by the heaven and he who built it, and by the earth, the one who spread it. And then Allah Ta'ala says, وَمَا خَلَقَ الذَّكَرَ وَالْأُنثَى. So we see that the relationship between sky and earth is very similar between that of man and woman. The sky, it sends down rain to, like quote unquote, impregnate the earth to produce vegetation. Likewise, the man is impregnating the woman to produce, to reproduce, really. Okay, so that's one another connection. Mm. So they work together, just like how the sky and earth work together, men and women work together to provide the process of life. The previous surah, it speaks in the third person. Over here, it's in the second person. The previous surah speaks in third person. Yeah, Allah Ta'ala, like over here, فَأَنذَرْتُكُمْ, or no, that's not it. That's not it. What was I referring to? Okay, let's just skip that for now. Maybe like وَنَفْسٍ وَمَا سَوَّاهَا, and فَأَمَّا مَنْ, oh, okay, wait, forget that. I'll get it later. فَأَلْهَمَهَا. Okay, so Surah Shams, we basically the whole surah revolved around this idea of فَأَلْهَمَهَا فُجُورَهَا وَتَقْوَاهَا قَدْ أَفْلَحَ مَنْ زَكَّاهَا وَقَدْ خَابَ مَنْ دَسَّاهَا. That Allah Ta'ala says those individuals that Allah Ta'ala, He has explained the turuq, the paths of evil and good. And the one who is able to purify his soul, that's the person who's going to be successful. The one who soils his soul, he soils his soul with kufr and ma'siyah and disbelief and sin, that's the individual who's going to be a loser. وَقَدْ خَابَ مَنْ دَسَّاهَا. Then Allah Ta'ala, He talks about that more. وَصَدَّقَ فَأَمَّا مَنْ أَعْطَى وَاتَّقَى وَصَدَّقَ بِالْحُسْنَى فَسَنُيَسِّرُهُ لِلْيُسْرَى. That's قَدْ أَفْلَحَ مَنْ زَكَّاهَا, no? وَأَمَّا مَنْ بَخِلَ وَاسْتَغْنَى وَكَذَّبَ بِالْحُسْنَى فَسَنُيَسِّرُهُ لِلْعُسْرَى. That's وَقَدْ خَابَ مَنْ دَسَّاهَا. Okay, so the first surah talks about acts, whereas the second surah is now talking about the consequences. I think this is also going to come up again. Um, كذبت ثمود بطغواها. That was Surah Shams. The Surah Shams talks about this nation of Thamud, which is basically a tafsir of وَقَدْ خَابَ مَنْ دَسَّاهَا, of a nation of multiple people who soiled their souls due to their disbelief and their ma'siyah. So Allah Ta'ala talks about this nation of Thamud that فَكَذَّبُوهُ فَعَقَرُوهَا. They disbelieve in the Prophet. That was a kufr. And in terms of amal, what do? فَعَقَرُوهَا. They butchered the she camel that Allah Ta'ala sent to them. What's happening over here is very, very similar. وَأَمَّا مَنْ بَخِلَ وَاسْتَغْنَى وَكَذَّبَ بِالْحُسْنَى فَسَنُيَسِّرُهُ لِلْعُسْرَى. That Allah Ta'ala talks about how this Thamud, they thought that they were so mighty and strong. Why? Because they were just like yoked, right? They were just absolute giants. They were very, very athletically built. So what did they feel like? They felt like they were independent. They didn't need Allah Ta'ala. They could provide for themselves. What is that not the same individual who, that's not the same attitude of a person who thinks that I'm rich. I can provide for my own self. I have all this money. I don't need to believe in a provider. I provide for myself. I have my own 6 figure, 7 figure job that I'm able to do all these things. So I'm bakhila wastaghna. So it's istighna is a very, very istighna because you have dunya. Istighna because you have wealth is a huge factor in pushing a person away from reliance on Allah Ta'ala. Because if a person knows that they have their own money, then they're not gonna feel the need of dependency. Okay. Inna alayna lal huda. Inna alayna lal huda. Ayah number 12. It is upon us to guide. A bayanu turuqil khayri wa shar. As we read. It is upon us to guide. So of course this is like it's obvious in the meaning of like the disbeliever. But even if you look at it in the sense of even the pious people, they shouldn't think that their piety is because of their own efforts, right? You could have this feeling of istighna in both a outwardly impious and an outwardly pious person, right? Person who thinks that they just don't need Allah Ta'ala because they have so many hundreds of thousands of dollars or millions in the bank or whatever, as well as a person who thinks that I'm the one that puts my body through this much physical exertion by worshiping Allah Ta'ala. I'm the one that wakes up for Fajr. I'm the one that's doing all this. That person can also have istighna, right? Okay. فَكَذَّبُوهُ فَعَقَرُوهَا. What happened? فَكَذَّبُوهُ فَعَقَرُوهَا. They disbelieved in Salih alayhi salam, the nation of Thamud in Surah Shams. فَعَقَرُوهَا. And then they went towards this ayah of Allah Ta'ala and they destroyed it. They butchered it. They hamstrung it. فَعَقَرُوهَا. Hamstrung it. And over here we see a different but same reaction. الَّذِي كَذَّبَ وَتَوَلَّى. Over there, they disbelieved. Over here, they're disbelieving. What's happening now? Over there, they did فَعَقَرُوهَا. They actually went to the miraculous she camel that came out from the rock, and they went to it and they butchered it. Whereas over here, what's happening? They're actually turning around and running away from the sign of Allah Ta'ala. So there's like a contrast between how the different reactions towards different miracles of Allah Ta'ala. Okay, Salih alayhi salam, he warned them. He warned the people of Thamud. What was it exactly? فقال لهم رسول الله ناقة الله وسقياها. That was Salih alayhi salam addressing them. Now what is Allah Ta'ala doing? فأنذرتكم. Allah Ta'ala himself is addressing the people. Okay? إذن بعث أشقاها لا يصلاها إلا الأشقى. So إذن بعث أشقاها in the previous surah, when that individual Qudar bin Salif, he stood up and he decided, you know what, let's just kill this she camel. That was his behavior. That was the previous surah. The previous surah talked about behavior. Now this surah is talking about the consequences. What's the consequences of the ashqa? Even ba'atha interesting. Look, even ba'atha ashqaha. Ashqa is used in the previous surah. What's used right here? La yaslaha illa ashqa. Same word is used. Okay, it's not like a coincidence or something. Over there, it's talking about the behavior of these people. Now, over here, it's talking about the consequences of these people. Consequences both in dunya and akhirah. فَدَمْدَمَ عَلَيْهِمْ رَبُّهُمْ بِذَنْبِهِمْ فَسَوَّاهَا. Allah Ta'ala just brought down wave after wave after wave of punishment. That was just in the dunya. Now, what happens? Um, in the hereafter, it's فَأَنذَرْتُكُمْ نَارًا تَلَظَّى. They have it? Hellfire that's blazing, waiting for them. دَمْدَمَ. How does okay? Over فَدَمْدَمَ عَلَيْهِمْ. He brought down wave after wave of punishment on these people of Thamud. And then over here, Allah Ta'ala says, وَسَيُجَنَّبُهَا الْأَتْقَى. Allah Ta'ala talks about over there how He deals with the people who disbelieve. And over here, He talks about how He deals with the people who do believe. There's a huge difference, right? That wave after wave of punishment compared to being safe from the punishment in entirety. وَلَا يَخَافُ عُقْبَاهَا. In the previous surah, Allah Ta'ala, He destroyed these people. It's not like he's afraid of what their retribution is going to be. He doesn't وَلَا يَخَافُ. He does not fear any sort of revenge that they want to take. Over here, what does Allah Ta'ala say? It's very, very like what's the word? Like slipping my mind. But Allah Ta'ala is like asserting his dominance basically. وَلَا يَخَافُ عُقْبَاهَا. Like you guys can't do anything. Well, what is Allah Ta'ala saying here? وَلَسَوْفَ يَرْضَى. And He will soon be pleased. This pious person, وَلَسَوْفَ يَرْضَى. That individual in the hereafter, you soon be pleased. A shift between the attitude towards the disbelievers and towards the believers. Punishment was quantified. فَدَمْدَمَ عَلَيْهِمْ. Ooh. Allah Ta'ala says, فَدَمْدَمَ عَلَيْهِمْ رَبُّهُمْ بِذَنبِهِمْ فَسَوَّاهَا. That He brought down wave after wave of punishment until what? Until they were all leveled. فَسَوَّاهَا. Until that whole town was just flat, basically. What is Allah Ta'ala saying here? So over there, the punishment was quantified. وَلَسَوْفَ يَرْضَى. Is that quantified? Is there any limit that's being given here? No, it's just that's okay. So again, the attitude that Allah, the shift in attitude between the disbeliever and the believer, how Allah Ta'ala is going to reward the believer. And then the two pass in Surah al-Layl. فَأَمَّا مَنْ أَعْطَى وَاتَّقَى وَصَدَّقَ بِالْحُسْنَى فَسَنُيَسِّرُهُ لِلْيُسْرَى. That's the good people. وَأَمَّا مَنْ بَخِلَ وَاسْتَغْنَى وَكَذَّبَ بِالْحُسْنَى فَسَنُيَسِّرُهُ لِلْعُسْرَى. This is, like we said, it's like a tafsir of قَدْ أَفْلَحَ مَنْ زَكَّاهَا وَقَدْ خَابَ مَنْ دَسَّاهَا. And that itself is like a tafsir of Surah Layl, or Surah Balad, sorry, the surah even before Surah Shams, which talks about وَهَدَيْنَاهُ النَّجْدَيْنِ. Allah Ta'ala guided them to the two paths. Okay? So all of these three surahs, they have this central theme of you have to make sure you make the right choices while you're living in this life. Yes, sir. I believe the sofa one is the sofa is later. Sa is like soon, but it's still in the future. Why is sofa used here though? That might be a good thing to look up. Let's see if I don't think he mentions anything here. Yeah, unless I'm mixing. I don't think I'm mixing them up. Let me see if Biqa'i says anything. Layl. Sorry, just one second, guys. الذي يؤتي ماله يتزكى ولسوف يرضى أي بطاعة الجنة العلا والمزيد بوعد لا يخلف فيه بعد No, he's not mentioning anything. As to why use sofa instead of ولا ولسوف يعطيك. I'll look at this some more, inshallah. Maybe see if anyone mentions why use sofa and not sayarba. Yeah, go ahead. The lam would be for, I believe, for ta'eed. Yeah, okay. Was there another lam somewhere? You said was there like there's multiple ones? No. Okay. Okay, that's that. That was. I got 20 minutes. Let's see if I can do this. Transgenderism, gender identity, gender politics. What is a woman? Have you guys seen that video? I rewatched it in preparation for today, dude. That was like the funniest comedy I've seen in like so long. Okay, it's so funny that, because he has like an amazing poker face too. The way he was just sitting there, just like no reaction. I was like, dude, this is amazing. Anyways, okay, transgenderism. Today we're going to discuss, can a man be a woman? So we've been the past couple of years we've been hearing a lot about a lot of statements like we have to be careful when raising our young boys because we don't know if they're going to be boys. We have to be careful when raising our girls because who knows if they're going to want to be girls. We can't be sure that our kids have the sex that is assigned to them at birth. Or we've heard stuff like there's a man in a woman's body, there's a woman in a man's body, yada yada yada. This is, I will say, flat out, this is purely insane, ideological nonsense, man. And anyone with half a brain agrees. Okay, so let's talk about this to the two sexes, to the whole binary stuff. Okay, you're a medical student, right? Okay, in the academics, is there now like a shift happening between biological markers? Are you serious? Okay, forget the social thing. We'll talk about. I'm saying, is there now a claim being that like biological markers are irrelevant or anything like that, or is it that's not happening yet? But it's not mainstream. Okay, okay, okay. Okay, I think okay, so I think what's it called? The one way to just kind of be able to figure out what's in the realm of biology and not is that of course as a medical student you're going to be learning like you said the mainstream, the correct biological approach to the gender spectrum, which is not a spectrum, just binary, right? Anything else that you're going to hear is just what? It's just political ideology, political propaganda that's being shoved down your throat regarding gender identity as opposed to gender, what would you call it? Just the biological sex, right? Is that a differentiation you can make, or that's I'm just trying to figure out if even the whole biological aspect is gonna like is getting attacked too, like a lot, as opposed to the gender identity aspect. Okay, so jazakallah khair. Males and females reproduce with one another in the human species or with any mammalian species, right? The simple reality is that the human species is dimorphic. It has two distinct forms, male and female. So typically, those who are male. Okay, so I got a lot of this from those. Remember, we talked about the abortion discussion, which was like the secular arguments were from a lot of these like right wing political commentators, I guess you can call them, JP, or Jordan Peterson, Ben Shapiro, and all these guys. Um, which I think for a lot of like these issues that we agree on, I think they do a great job. In all honesty, like this was a lot of this was Ben Shapiro stuff. I listened to a lot of Jordan Peterson stuff. I would listen to it like way back. I remember probably like 17, 18, 19. I was listening to that stuff. Like I was just like I was a Jordan Peterson head. I was a what's his thing? I was part of the crab gang or whatever. Um, because he has I have both the books. I have all three of his books actually. There's two books, 12 Rules for Life and 12 More Rules for Life. That's like for the general public. And then he has this huge like really really dense book about the called Maps of Meaning, and it's he's trying to outline religious thought, I guess. I haven't read the book yet, but I have it. And so I was like a real Jordan Peterson head because if I have that book, I'm like I was for real about it. And I'd like, I would stay up like all night, stay up to Fajr, watching all of his videos, and then just, yeah. Al-hikmatu dalatul mu'min. That wisdom, knowledge, is the lost commodity of a believer. Wherever he finds it, he should take it. So if that's for a non-Muslim too, if there's good thing, obviously not everything that they're saying is baqas, right? You could learn from them. So if you have, as a Muslim, if you're able to benefit for them, then take that which is beneficial. خُذْ مَا صَفَا وَدَعْ مَا كَدِرَ. Take that which is pure, leave that which is tainted. Anyways, those males, those who are male have the XY chromosomes, while females have XX. Males and females, of course, they differ in their size, their muscles, their I don't know what you'd call that, but their muscle structure, I guess, their brain function. What else? As a notable neuroscientist says, differences between sexes are part of the human conditions. As for now, the ishkal over here would be that anomalies, intersex, some stuff like that. The fact that there's a group of intersex individuals shows that hey, there is a third gender, and possibly that's a door that we could open to say that there's more than three, or there's more than two. Yani. Now, there are certainly people who have anomalies, or who have conditions which are considered anomalies. For example, like we said, the intersex stuff, we have also the Klinefelter syndrome, which of this individual will have two X and a Y chromosome, resulting in the person is going to have breasts like a woman while having the dhakar, the private parts of a male. This is about one of 5,000 births. I'm gonna, even if that number is not accurate, just because my point is that if there is stuff like this that happens, the fact that there is a presence of an abnormal development does not mean that sex is a spectrum. So to suggest otherwise would be same as saying that I was born with three fingers. That means that fingers are on a spectrum. Okay, that's just nonsensical. All reproduction is rooted in the presence in the that's a typo. What does that even say? All reproduction is rooted in the presences of I don't know what that word is. I'm sorry. Of sexual dimorphism, of that the fact that there's two sexes. Okay, so to pretend otherwise is nonsensical. That's why to end the debate, you could just ask someone who is an advocate of this whole transgender movement to, like we said, I started off as a joke, but ask them to define in a non-self-inferential or a without using the word of man and woman to define basically what is a woman. Wait. That's why to end the debate, just ask for a non-self-referential and or definition of man and woman. I think that's also a typo somewhere. Probably meant like a circular. Because what happens is that they say a woman is a woman, or a woman is a female, or oh yeah, a woman is a woman and stuff like that. So those are either not non-self-referential, referring to I feel like a woman, therefore I am a woman. You haven't defined the thing yet, right? So the actual question of what is a woman is a very very valid question, and as you guys are, if you're not familiar with, um, ask someone to explain it to you. Don't watch the videos. There's a lot of non-mahrams in there. So the advocates of biology, the answer for what is a woman or what is a man is simple. You can look at chromosomes, you can look at the SRY genes. SRY genes are the genes which determine, okay, it stands for sex determining region. Y gene is found on the Y chromosome. In the cell, it binds to other DNA, and in doing so, it distorts it dramatically out of shape. This alters the properties of the DNA and likely alters the expression of a number of genes, leading to testes formations. Okay, it actually affects the development of the privates. As well as you can look at the reproductive organs, i.e., you could look at, so if you look at chromosomes, SRY gene, the reproductive organs, you could look at verifiable answers. That's the main thing. You could look at verifiable answers. For advocates of the position that some biological men are women and vice versa, that some biological women are men, there is no standard that can be applied. A man can become a woman can become a man at any time without any stable definition of the word whatsoever. Okay, you guys following? Great. So those medical experts, those pseudo medical experts who say that gender identity is completely separate from a person's sex when they're born, this is due to a fallacy. Fallacy is what? Gender is entirely a social construct. Gender is entirely socially constructed and thus separate from biology. So, gender, this definition refers to all the various feminine qualities that relate to womanhood and all those masculine qualities that relate to like manhood, I guess. Okay, so and according to these folk, gender and sex are completely different. All of those gender notions of femininity are completely separate from being a biological female. Okay, which let's talk about right now. To say that you could be a woman in a man's body because your gender identity is separate from your sex is unsupported at any level. To say that you could have the body of a woman, but because you think that you're a man, is unsupported at any and every level. Everyone understands that there are qualities which are more masculine. The examples he gave was actually chopping wood, which is yani, just a small example of basically intense labor, right? That's a very masculine quality, as well as, and he said, being dumb. And I guess you could say that this is, just less emotional, really. And some, as for, so those are some qualities for like some more masculine qualities of intense labor and just being less emotional. And for women, it's like being caring, being nice, which are in reality just motherly roles. These are variations which appear across all cultures, all cultures. Some of this is biological, and yeah, some of it is social construction. But based on this, to say that, to suggest that if a boy is effeminate, and he has just some feminine qualities, he doesn't like sports or something, he doesn't like that type of, doesn't like what else? Or he is just, or maybe a little bit overly emotional. To say that because of that, because you have a boy with some feminine qualities and a feminine man, feminine boy, to say that that now makes him a girl, or you have a girl who's just like really butch, she just builds like really big or something like that, or some again, to say that now because she built like just like she's like got like huge biceps or something, to say that now she's a man, that's absolutely ridiculous. And this is what the gender theorists argue. So the okay, I have this little, we could skip that. Well, the origin of the gender identity movement lies with the professor of medical psychology from Johns Hopkins in the 60s. His name was John Money. That's a cool name, I'm not gonna lie, John Money. Okay, so basically his whole thing was that um, a kid from his birth up to a year, probably he has. I don't want to misquote him, but basically he's the one who started off this whole. Correct me if I'm wrong. He's the one who just started off this whole. He started off this whole idea of basically the sex surgeries to change your gender. I mean, he's a major figurehead in the thing. Um, and then we have radical feminists like Judith Butler began arguing that all gender was socially constructed, and therefore all inequalities between men and women was due to an evil sexist society. So if a gender, again, the response to this would be that if a gender is something that's absolutely meaningless, something that's completely socially constructed and created by society, why would it matter more than someone's sex? I.e., in Aristotle, why does someone need to change their body to match something that itself is also socially constructed and by extension meaningless? That doesn't make any sense. For you to have to mutilate your body to match something that itself is meaningless according to you. Okay, so gender dysphoria, a disorder, is extremely rare. People who are diagnosed with this and were seeking hormonal or surgical therapy were like literally less than 1% for males, like 0.005 to 0.014% for males and 0.002 to 0.003% for women. These numbers are now rising dramatically. How much do I have left? I got like a page left, not even. Um, People suffering with this gender dysphoria in its non-politicized version means, what does this term mean? Gender dysphoria. The persistent belief that you are a member of the opposite sex. These people have a tragically high suicide rate, which also remains high after any surgical or hormonal treatment. The mental health effects are still extremely damaging, even in a society which is particularly accepting to such individuals. You may think that's, hey, maybe that's just because they're getting bullied or something. Well, the evidence does not prove that, putting them in a society which does support this whole movement, help them in any way. Let me see what I can skip. We only have 5 minutes. So suffering from a mental disorder does not change your underlying sex any more than me, Mustafa Ali, believing that I'm the president. Just because I say it doesn't make it true, of course. So transgender activists make an objective claim about reality that is based on subjective internal feelings. That's completely unsustainable. Moreover, they're asking you to abandon reason, biology, privacy, even freedom of speech, as well as like okay, and stuff like how you raise your kids to make sure you're teaching them certain values. They're forcing these things down your throat. That is in accordance to reality. They're asking you to abandon all those things, which of course we're basing off of our reason and reality in favor of this diluted worldview in which they completely separate gender and sex. So, and then I wrote down, of course, none of this is meant to incite violence or mistreatment and stuff like that. Okay, we can stop there. In the end, a man who claims to be a woman is making a unsubstantial claim because he doesn't even know what it's like to be a woman. So how could he claim that he knows what it's that he's a woman, right? الحكم على شيء فرع عن تصوره. To say that, to affirm and negate something regarding something else, you would have to understand what that thing is first. For you to say, to put the hukam on yourself that, yes, I am a woman, you would have to first understand what that thing is. And because there's no possible way as a man you can understand what it's like to be a woman, then it's impossible for you to say that you are a woman. This is all political propaganda. Any questions? Ooh, yeah. Yeah. Usually what I do is I go through the like the Islamic perspective first, right? Like the fatwa, like with the abortion thing, I think we've gone over a lot of the went over the this summarization of Mufti Muhammad ibn go through his book. But yeah, we should do that. Like how to deal with these people. Like it's a big issue, even like masajid and stuff. Where should they pray and stuff? Especially in our whole thing about we have like all the abwab of fiqh talk about khuntha mushkil, intersex individual. We could talk about a little bit about that too, inshallah. Maybe we could say that for Friday. I who to ask? You have all your asatis of pipe. What do you mean? Someone who actually understands like the experience of dealing with patients and like like the staff and administration and stuff over there. Yeah, and that would be. Let me see, inshallah. Yeah, they're great. Jelly, transgender fiqh. I don't like writing that down. Um, this third thing was resources for Muslim physician and abortion and stuff like that. Just having to do things that just aren't permissible shara'an. Did they make you do that? You can't just be like, I gotta go to the bathroom real quick, boss. Mm. All right, let me see. Inshallah, I'll try to connect you with somebody. Okay, so far I have tajalliyat. One thing, the transgender fiqh stuff, like how to deal with these people. Can you shake a transgender man, whatever? Wait, is that does that mean man who's become a woman or a woman who's become a man? Can you change basically? Huh? Yes. So can you like shake hands with them, say salam and all that stuff? So like the fiqh behind that stuff, where should they pray? Some khunsa stuff, and then just the specific question regarding the abortion thing and how you could deal with that, inshallah. Allah Ta'ala make it easy for you. Was there anything else? Any other questions? Um, is there any update on Mufti? No, honestly, I have not. I haven't got any update on his health. It'd be something good to. He said that Mufti Saab mentioned that the other Mufti Saab will have to have most likely have surgery, but I don't know if that happened. I don't know how his condition is now. We just make dua, inshallah. I can try finding out, inshallah. Let you guys know. The Muhammad Ghaniwala, is that the he asked the question earlier too, right? What was your question again? Regarding the Ajr thing. That's like having like these ulterior motives for getting tax benefits and stuff like that. Would that decrease the reward for sadaqah and stuff? That's a good question. Sadaqah with tax saving niyyah. Okay. Subhanallah, bihamdi, subhanallah. Any other questions or we good? Okay, inshallah. Subhanallah, bihamdi, subhanak Allahumma bihamdik, nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta, nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.